In the world of economic discourse, few subjects draw more attention and speculations than the financial stability of the global powerhouse. One of the most focal points is the financial instability of China in 2023 after the COVID-19 lockdown. China is renowned for its strong economic background, which has powerful implications for its policies. But the calamity hit, and it turned China's economic situation around. Stay tuned until the end of the video, because today we're going into the economic crisis in China after the lockdown. Is it time Beijing accepted that time for a super good economy and growth is gone for good? For the last 30 years, China's economy has been doing incredibly well. It grew a lot and became a middle-income country. In 2022, its economy was worth $18.3 trillion, 73% of the US economy, and way more than in 1990. Each person in China makes around $13,000 on average per annum, which is only 17% of what someone in the United States makes, but is a much better amount than the 2% that it was in 1990. So China has been a huge part of the world's economic growth, responsible for 35% in the last 15 years, while the United States was 27%. Interestingly, China did all of this without some things that experts usually say are super important for a country to grow, like a perfect financial system, firm rules, a market-focused economy, and a government that's open and democratic. So, everything was going great for China despite all of that, until the COVID-19 pandemic hit, causing economic disaster. So, let's see Chinese economic strategies first. China's economy has grown mainly through investing a lot of money, especially after the global financial crisis of 2008. In those years, about 2/3 of the growth in China's economy came from more investment. China has many people who can work, but the amount of money they have compared to the machines and tools they use is less than in wealthier countries. Having more investment, therefore, could be a good thing. But there's a catch. Most of the money for these investments came from the government, not private companies. Now, that's not necessarily a problem, but the companies owned by the government, called state-owned enterprises, usually don't make as much profit as private enterprises. So, here are the three main things that China's government did. Firstly, use less money on things that need a lot of investment, like building significant projects, and focus more on regular people spending money. Next, make more money from services like restaurants and technology instead of just making cheap things in factories. And finally, change how they grow the economy to create more jobs for people. It was like trying to have a more balanced and stable economy. The government wanted regular people to spend more money and not rely on the government to invest in big projects. So this graph shows China's increased GDP in previous years and reflects its solid economic background. But on the other hand, the economic situation of China in 2023 looks a bit different. China actually started 2023 quite strong, but things didn't go as expected. The stuff China sells to other countries was much less desired. People bought less, companies didn't make as many things, and less investment went into new projects. The prices of items stayed about the same, and more people were having difficulty finding jobs. China's money, called the renminbi but known as the yuan, also decreased in value because people worried about how well the country's economy was doing. An important person, Larry Summers, who used to be in charge of money stuff in the United States, is saying things about China that sound scary. He's comparing it to what happened to Russia in the 1960s and to Japan in the 1990s, saying that in the future, people might look back at predictions about China's economy in 2020 like they look back at forecasts for Russia of 60 or Japan of 90. Now, it's time for the Chinese government to consider these predictions about their economic crises. After 3 years of dealing with the pandemic, Chinese families, businesses, and local governments are facing financial challenges. Unlike the United States, China gave very little money to families and businesses during COVID-19. So because of this, Chinese people haven't been spending as much. The biggest worry for China's finances is the property market. If this part of the economy has big problems, that could cause an amazing amount of damage, and it does. Now, one thing that's different from a situation like the 2007-08 crisis in the United States is that in China, people put a lot of money down when they buy a house. So even if property prices fall, which hasn't happened much yet, the risk of a financial crisis would be smaller than what happened in the United States. However, people could still lose a lot of money, and therefore the economy would really need to improve. According to economist Louise Liu from Oxford Economics, China has a big problem with houses, and it will take a long time to fix. She's looked at data from all over China and found it will take at least 4 to 6 years for builders to finish building homes that have already started. Now, even though there are efforts to give more money to builders and fix issues in China's property market, the main problem is that too many homes still are unfinished. However we look at the data, there are too many homes in the market, and it will take at least another 4 years to fix the problem unless people want to buy homes, said Liu in a report. She also mentioned that more homes are being sold by people who already own 1 or 2 homes, and this makes the problem even more challenging to solve because there are too many homes for people to buy quickly. In China, people usually buy homes before they're even finished being built. Builders need to complete these homes so they can sell more. However, problems with getting money and other issues have caused delays in finishing houses, sometimes cancellations or very long pauses, which makes it quite hard to sell them and leaves people with their money in limbo. In some places, like the less wealthy province of Guizhou, it might take more than 20 years to finish building homes. It could take at least 10 years in other provinces, like Jiangxi and Hebei. A company called Numara estimated there are about 20 times more homes that still need to be finished but already sold in China compared to the size of a significant property company called Country Garden by the end of 2022. So real estate and things connected to it make up about 1/5 to 1/4 of China's economy. On the other hand, the reality is that China's government hasn't done much to fix these problems, even though there's a risk of prices going down. This differs from the US and Europe, where prices might increase too much. The interest rates in China have stayed about the same, even when prices fell, showing that the government didn't really intervene in the situation. China's government-controlled economy is not doing well, and all signs are that it's heading for big trouble. Many people in the news are saying that China's impressive 40-year growth period is ending. China's primary industry, manufacturing, needs to improve. The big business of building homes is also collapsing because of mountains of debt. Even the massive plan to build lots of new things, the Belt and Road Initiative, roads and bridges, is turning out to potentially be a big mistake. To fix things, China's government is making banks buy stocks to make it look like the stock market and their money are doing well. But the government is so worried, it's not even telling the truth about how bad things are. They used to make up numbers to show a strong economy, but now they're not sharing any numbers. It's like pretending a big problem, like many young people not having jobs, just doesn't exist. China's leader, President Xi Jinping, is only getting around 5% growth in China now. Now, that's not great for a country trying to develop, and it isn't very pleasant for the Chinese people who are used to seeing the economy grow fast. Things have been tough for the Chinese. They had to go through some of the harshest COVID lockdowns, and the government suddenly stopped them without explaining why. It made many people realize the government might need to do a better job and that their mistakes can cause big problems. The Chinese government needs to handle things better, especially with the economy. People need more confidence, so they're spending or investing less. Even people from other countries and small businesses in China are pulling back, and there are fewer people available to work. But the main question arises: will it remain the same? Or will the good times for the Chinese government be over? And what's in the future for China? The Chinese government has been quite good at handling big problems in the economy, even though the way they were growing before could have been more efficient and risky. They managed to avoid some serious issues like a banking crisis, a significant drop in the value of their money, a crash in the housing market, and the whole economy falling apart. But Every time they avoided these problems, there were consequences. They ended up with a lot of debt within the country, lost considerable money from their foreign reserves, and the prices of things like stocks and houses has become more and more volatile. So now the government has some tough decisions to make. How can they keep the economy growing while also reducing the amount of debt? How can they use less energy to make things, even though a lot of the economy still depends on big industries? How can they ensure the financial markets work well while the government wants more control? And how can they ensure that the rich and poor aren't too far apart, even though they want private companies to make more money? How should they encourage new ideas and businesses from private companies, even though they want to control the big successful ones? These are not easy problems to solve, and the government needs to find a balance between different things. Otherwise, the excellent time for a speedy economy will be banished, and the country will face serious consequences and complications. Thank you for watching this video. Hit the subscribe button to get more exciting updates.